Good day, everyone. This is Pilot Needles, and welcome to DDO Players News, where we take a look at the latest news in DDO and on the tabletop. And please welcome my co-host from Ravenloft, Dracula.
Hey now, everybody. How's it going?
Hello there, Drac, and I see that you brought a friend along, so let's welcome from DDO Cast to Patrick.
Hello.
Hello there.
Welcome back. It's been a while since we've had you on.
Has it?
It has. It's been I was going to look in to see exactly how long, but it's been a long time.
Well, I certainly don't remember.
Yeah, see?
I can't remember who was on my show 2 weeks ago. I write all that stuff down.
Oh,
Me
so
neither.
Drac, do you remember the last time you were on his show?
No. I don't. I'm like him. I have to write it down or I can't remember nothing.
Okay. Then the first thing we are to look at is the producer's letter, which is not out yet.
Yeah. At this point, I'm saying the producer's letter is like Bigfoot. We know it's out there, but nobody has actually ever seen it.
Ooh.
I mean, that's a bad analogy because that's debatable, but
Well, it's mythical. It's
Okay.
mythical at this point. After I said that, I thought, yeah, that was kind of a bad analogy, was it? But
So you're saying then the producer's letter is cryptocalligraphy?
sure. Sure, we'll go with that. Yeah. At this point, I don't know what the deal with this producer's letter is, unless there's absolutely something in it that I'm guessing WotC is dragging their feet on or something. I can't understand what is the holdup with the producer's letter.
well, it's not. It's probably something along the lines of one of the other parties that's involved with DDO, other than saying some games, is probably not fully approved, or it's probably had to go through a couple. I mean, it's one of those things that if you write it and then you send it around to the people at SSG and then it gets rewritten, and then you send it around to the people at SSG and they give thumbs up, and then you send it on to the next group,
Right, yeah.
I don't know, Daybreak, and then they look at it like, well, we need to rewrite this stuff.
Oh, I forgot Daybreak had a
and then-
little hand
And then
in
you
this
have to
too.
go, then you start over, right? Like you rewrite it, give it to your SSG, and then you give it to Daybreak, and then you move on to WotC, and then like I don't know if that's necessarily how it's going. Like I don't have any insider information, but
Right, yeah, exactly.
that's kind of how you can kind of envision it's going. And
I completely forgot that Daybreak had to have a hand in it as well, too.
I mean, we'd presume it's again,
One would think, as the publishers, yeah, I would think they would have
Right. I
some
suppose that's
some
possible.
little say.
you figure at least SSG and Standing Stone and Daybreak and WotC bare minimum are looking at that. So
Yeah, I suppose that's possible. I'm just thinking that if it weren't for the fact that we knew that Sharn was coming out, I would say, hey, maybe they were Break Real DDO Saltmarsh. But no, they can't do something as big as Saltmarsh right now because they've got because we've got Sharn to worry about.
So, yeah, it'll be interesting, and of course, I can't wait for all the forum rage when it actually does come out and people are like, this is what we waited for. This is what took so long for us to get. Because you know it's going to happen. I'm calling it right now. You know there's going to be a minimum of at least 3 threads started on the forum. This producer's letter is a joke. We waited this long for it.
Yeah,
You
I
know
was
it's going to happen.
There might
Well-
be one sentence in there that's delaying it, and everything else we probably already know already.
Yeah.
actually, Jerry said on the show yesterday that there are a number of things that, even after all the stuff that Sev talked about in his interview this week, there are a number of things that are still not yet discussed.
Oh, okay.
Wow, really? Okay. Well, color me
Well,
surprised then.
I mean, it makes sense though, because if you look at and we'll probably talk about this video later. Like,
Mhm.
it's just he's talking mostly about Sharn and the a little bit about the anniversary stuff, and then answering a bunch of questions that people are kind of coming up with, like, "Hey, when is this class going to get a pass? When is this class going to pass?" And well, yeah, that needs to get a pass, and this is kind of what we're looking at that make that work, and some other stuff. But he didn't really talk anything about. I mean, a little bit, but not really about what are the next. What's the year look like in terms of release schedule and content and stuff like that. So
All right. Then we'll see about that. Let's then get on to what we do know about. But let's begin with a little bit of sad news for anyone who loves playing on Wednesdays. And that is, we're down all day Wednesday?
Yeah, if you like took the day off because you're like, hey, I'm going to take Wednesday off and I'm going to play DDO all day just because I feel like it. Sorry, you might want to reschedule that.
Get the day back.
Yeah, get that day back.
I said the exact same thing on my show.
Did you? That's
Yeah.
funny.
Yes.
Yeah, because 2 a.m. to 12 a.m. So 22 hours of downtime. This is for some like major data center stuff, so it's not really on SSG.
And Cordovan did say that they weren't exactly given a lot of notice either by the data center. I got the impression, or at least that's the impression I got. I unfortunately turned on halfway through that conversation. It was on a Lotro stream where he said it.
But yeah, so once again, just keep that in mind. Wednesday, March the 6th, 2 a.m. to 12 a.m. You're not going to get into my account or the game. And this, of course, will affect Lotro as well. So if you happen to play both games and you're thinking, hey, I'll just go play Lotro. No, you won't.
I mean, it never works that way. If you're thinking that, you haven't been paying attention.
Exactly. That's exactly. It always affects both games, but yeah.
Actually, if it's a major maintenance like this, but on this Monday, for example, DDO is going to be up while Lotro is down, I'm pretty sure, right? So therefore, I can play DDO.
Well, if you're talking about like a patch or something, of course. But this is data center.
Yeah, this is like data center. Yeah, this
is by what it sounds like. No, it's like they're moving the server.
Yeah,
like
they're moving
physical hardware around.
Yeah,
kind of a thing. So
that's the impression that I got. Whether that's inside the data center or across the street, or whether that's changing machines, I don't know, but they're doing something like that. Therefore, let's see about what we can do, and we'll begin with the 13th anniversary.
Yay, we are 13 years old. That is amazing that DDO turned 13.
One for each house.
Exactly. The anniversary challenge is back, so go run that and all of its zaniness and insider jokes and everything that the anniversary challenge has to it. They are also doing something a little different this year. We don't just get one gift, we're getting 13 gifts this year. Every Thursday for the next 13 weeks, they're going to release a new code, and that code is going to get you a birthday cake, and when you eat that birthday cake, you can choose a cloak, and the cloaks are all themed towards the houses of Eberron. This week's code is Vela Says Hi, VELAHSAYSHI. Vela Says Hi is the first code.
Oh boy, I read that so wrong.
What did you read it as?
I was thinking Velasashi.
Oh, well, I can... Yeah, okay. Yeah. I can see how you get that. So, yes, Ian, you don't have to use these now if you don't want to. These codes will be good. I think they said until the end of the year.
December 31st, 2019.
So you can hold them up, or you can use them as soon as the new code, but it's going to be every Thursday is when the code's going to come out. And you can, when you use the code and get your cake and use the cake, if you would like, you can get all 13 cloaks, or you could get 2 of the same cloak. It's up to you. Keep in mind, though, this is 1 per account, so pick your server wisely.
Or pick multiple servers and pick your cloak wisely.
I didn't think about doing that, but that wouldn't be a bad idea. Yeah.
2 cloaks on each server or something like that?
Yeah.
You actually run out of cloaks before that because there's 8 servers. But
there are 8 servers now? Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Been 8 servers for like 10 years.
Gonna say, where have you been, Piley? If there's been 8 servers for a long time.
Yes, it said I don't log into as many servers in this game as I do in Lotro, so
Gotcha.
Lose count.
So yeah, so once again, every Thursday you can get a code, and the easiest way to do that is to go to the page that we will link in the show notes. They have like a little 13th anniversary splash page. That is what they are going to be using to release these codes. And, of course, it'll be in the Chronicle. We'll talk about it. I'm sure Patrick will talk about it on his show. You can probably see it on the forums. There's many ways to get it. But just remember, every Thursday you can get a new code and get your new Eberron-themed cloak. And they look kind of cool. I'm trying to think of how I want to word this.
Well, before you start talking about how they look, the other option would be you could basically just wait 14 weeks and then go to the page and grab all the codes at the same time.
Well, that's true, too.
Well, yes,
but keep in mind, you'll need 14 slots because, inventory management is at a prime.
Well, yeah, I noticed they were discussing that some on the troubles of inventory management in this game, and that it is so bad that if they added any more inventory right now, it'll crash the game.
But I do give them credit for at least doing this as a code-wise and not just giving us all 13 cloaks at once. Because that would be a nightmare. That would be a nightmare. So at least
on each character.
Yeah, at least they're doing the code thing to make it a little easier.
I don't know. I could have used. It seems like it might have worked better just to give each character one cake and pick a cloak and have them bound to account. Personally, but I don't know.
And then, along with the 13th anniversary, it's been pretty much a tradition for the past couple of years that. Cordovan does a 12-hour or more live stream, and he did that this year. And during those live streams, he tends to interview a lot of people around the Standing Stone offices, and this year was no exception. He had quite a few interviews, and we got some pretty good information out of all these interviews, too. Ooh. And Patrick was kind enough to, since he had recorded his show already, he was kind enough to share all the notes he put together from the interviews, which I'm glad he did because I didn't get to watch all these yet. So you want to talk a little bit, Patrick, about what you thought was some of the highlights from these? Because like I said, there was some really good information.
I have to drive the conversation here. All right.
Well, you don't have
so
to.
They broke it out into 4 videos. I think there might have been another. I haven't seen it get broken out for Toledo's interview. So but the 4 ones they broke out were Linabelle, Severlin, Steelstar, and Knockback. Knockback's interview was really kind of about how does the dungeon get made. So if you're interested in like what's the process, what comes before, what order do things go in, that's kind of a good interview. As far as information, the only thing that I think really pulled out from that one was that there will be special guest voice actors in Sharn. He didn't give any hints as to who it is, but he also talked a little about voice actors in general. Steelstar's interview really kind of talked about how to become a game designer, so like what his path looked like, and some like if you're interested in becoming a game designer and working on games like this, kind of what that can look like. He talked a little bit about Tieflings, which I'm sure we'll talk about later. But he did kind of say that Tieflings. They intentionally kind of had Tieflings be kind of more associated with fire because that's what they're most typically associated with. Not exclusively, but that was just kind of a choice they made based on that. And then Linabelle talked a fair bit about kind of itemization, particularly about what Sharn's going to look like, and that there's going to be kind of she's kind of working under 2 underlying themes for a lot of the items, kind of to go with the idea of Sharn. One of them being gold, because Sharn is like a really rich city. There's people that got a lot of money there. I think one of the things that Knockback said, Knockback got a little bit into the lore too about Sharn, but I think he said something along the lines like there are entities and organizations in Sharn that can like outright buy the coin lords, kind of a thing, to give an idea of where wealth is. So gold was kind of one theme. The other one was trash, kind of in the opposite direction. It sounds like we're gonna get a shield that's a trash can lid.
Yeah, I know. I was cracking up when she was saying that. I'm like, oh my god, that's awesome.
So kind of stuff that they are looking to kind of support medium and heavy armor builds more than Ravenloft did, particularly kind of along the DPS and castery lines. Because Ravenloft, if you want to be DPS, the best armors were kind of light, medium armors, really light armors, and if you wanted to be, the best caster stuff was robes. So looking to kind of give some support for medium, heavy armor builds. Both in terms of DPS and in casting. There looks like there's going to be another full set of weapons. Kind of like, so Ravenloft had, depending on how you want to count, 2 or 4 sets of weapons. It sounds like Ravenloft will have one set of like a full set of weapons, probably that actually means there'll be 2, so 1 heroic, 1 legendary, but they didn't really get into specifics there. But they did say that it would probably not be as quote free as Ravenloft was. Some of the reasons
the freebie you get when you first walk into Ravenloft.
Yeah, and part of the reason that they did that in the first place was to give support for sentient weapons, because sentient weapons came out at the same time as Ravenloft did,
Right.
And in order to do that, you need a named weapon. So they wanted to provide everyone, basically make it easy for everyone to have a high level named weapon that works with sentient weapons. She talked a little about adding more light and heavy crossbows, not repeating crossbows, just the standard light and heavy crossbows, which we'll probably get into more wide later. But it's one of those weapon types that isn't well supported, so they haven't really made a lot, and now they're looking at supporting that playstyle, specifically in terms of epic versions. Because in heroics, there's a lot of open-ended crafting systems that you can make whatever weapon you want. So Cannith crafting, Shroud, Thunderforge, that kind of stuff. The problem is in epics, those open-ended crafting systems don't support sentient weapons, so you can't put a sentient jewel in them. So they want to make sure that there's options there to kind of support the new universal tree that's coming out. And then Severlands was really kind of about, where the game is and where it's going, and a bunch of random questions that people asked that they usually ask. He did mention that there's going to be 2 raids with Sharn, one of which will come later, kind of like Baba's Hut did, which it sounded like there might be a mixture. It sounded like there's a mixture of workload and lore reasons that they're doing that. He talked a bunch about different kind of things that they want to do passes on. So Pale Masters came up. Kind of the primary problem there that they want to look at is one of the features of being a Pale Master is you can self-heal because you have the negative energy and being undead. But self-healing is really penalized in Reaper, so that's kind of a thing they want to look at. Sorcerer trees need a pass. Talk about maybe looking a little bit at range balance, specifically in terms of like strength-based throwing, so like throwing a dagger or an axe, which there's not really a lot of support in the game. And he wants that to be kind of a universal tree. Other things.
Deep on the Borderlands?
Yeah, I was holding off on that.
Okay.
The other one. My list is in order of the interview.
And you have a different list on your list of which you wish to discuss them.
I was just kind of glossing through it and go through. But other things that they were looking at doing a pass on is Reaper mode, and kind of doing a tweak on that to kind of fine tune it. He wants to add more Reapers, specifically because he wants players to have a more varied experience of encountering a Reaper. Because right now it's, hey, look, there's a Reaper. Kill it now.
Exactly,
it's not dead yet. Kill it now.
Or as he said, kill it with fire.
Yeah, which I thought was a little narrow-minded of him, because players are an equal opportunity killers. We'll use anything.
That's right.
That we can, even if we need to swing a halfling. Like we're down with that. But they want to introduce different kind of experience of that. So like, what would it look like to have a Reaper that you see and you don't want to kill it first, you want to kill it last? So kind of some ideas about that. He also talked about tanks kind of need some work, and like they're too dependent on intimidate. What would it look like to kind of give them more different mechanics to hold aggro? He talked a little bit about like guild airships, like wanting to kind of give a look at that, and like give guilds another pass on things that they can earn. Doesn't know what that looks like yet. Guild amenities is one of those things that he said that it's more work than you remember doing. But they talked about the idea of like throwing in a DPS kobold as an amenity, so you can kind of do DPS testing. If you don't know what that is, on Lomania you go in there and they have test kobolds, DPS kobolds they call them. They're basically just a kobold that has a sack of hit points, so you can do kind of better testing. Because like the training dummy, you can kill the training dummy in like 2 seconds, which doesn't really give you a lot of information. So that's kind of one of the things I have with that. Let's see. As far as content, you mentioned Keep on the Borderlands. They want to do Keep on the Borderlands kind of next-ish, I should say. I don't think it's like the next content necessarily, but and what they're looking at with that is this idea that it would be an alternative to Korthos Island.
Thank God.
Along with the higher level version, but not a starter area, right? It's not a new starter area. It's just an alternative content to low level.
Well, I would say
Right.
that it's called an advanced starter area. In other words, it's a starter area for someone who already knows the game, as opposed to a starter area for
Well,
someone.
that's
who's
not a
new to
starter
the-
area. Like when they're talking about like a starter area, they're like, how do you introduce someone to the game? How do you introduce
Yeah.
mechanics to them and that kind of a thing?
Well, sometimes when I think of starter area, it means where you start your character. Is another way.
Right.
I've heard
That's
it
not the
used.
language that they're using though. Like
Yeah,
what
okay.
they're talking about a starter area is introducing someone to the game and teaching them the game, and that's what Korthos is.
Yeah,
and
that's
what
what
it's supposed
Korthos
to do.
is. Yes.
And he did say that like, they're not really interested in really tweaking that because they've done it a bunch. Like they've changed what the starter area looks like a ton of times, and this is the one that has play tested the best and gotten the best feedback. And they don't really see a need to do that from a perspective of new players. A lot of people who say that is you need a new starter area. What they're really asking for tend to be, can we play something besides Korthos? at level
Korthos,
one?
exactly.
yes.
Thank God.
So that's what they're talking about with Keep on the Borderlands, is this idea that you have something different that you can do with content, and it'll probably have a higher level version, just because for them it's really easy to. And this is another thing he talked about is it's really easy when they make new content to make it both heroic and legendary or epic or whatever, but it's a lot hard. It takes almost the same amount of time to go into content that already exists and create redo it as epic content, even though we kind of like that.
Yeah.
It's
Actually,
not
he
really
said it
time
takes
efficient.
longer.
It can. It just kind of depends on what they do, I think.
Yeah, because he's talking about Three Barrel Cove and how long it took Three Barrel Cove, and it was like ridiculously long in order to make that an epic version.
Well, they also revamped the heroic stuff in there and touched a lot of stuff, but that's kind of part of it too, right? Like you end up going into this content and you have other goals that you want to make happen too, of like making it more solo friendly, because a lot of the earlier content, it wasn't really designed as much with a solo player in mind. So you need to pull this lever, like someone else needs to pull a lever, like in Delares 2, to advance a different person, right? Like, so they tend not to do that anymore unless you're in like a raid where it's like the mechanics of a raid are specific to you should have to have more than one player.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's not to say that people haven't soloed things. Like, I mean, people have soloed Abbott, if you can believe it. It's ridiculous and mind-boggling that they can do that, and really lucky. But people have soloed Abbott. But they don't really... They make it the design of the game nowadays a lot more with the idea that you can solo stuff. And,
right.
So there's a lot of stuff in older content that if you're touching it, you want to kind of, quote, update in terms of design and thinking. So it just ends up taking a lot longer to do. The other thing that he talked about was Isle of Dread, which would be kind of the next-ish thing after Keep on the Borderlands, or like the next classic content, so to speak. I don't know if they're calling either one of those classic content as much as just like campaign settings that they're looking at bringing in or something. But in any case, with Isle of Dread, there's a lot of things they need to kind of make it happen. It doesn't sound like he's talking about it in terms of an expansion, because one of the things he said is it's expansion level art. One of the things that we talk about Isle of Dread is this big moment of a T-Rex, and one of the things I really appreciate about Sev is where he talks about like the player experience, and a T-Rex is supposed to be this big moment, and you don't want to just like have that be thrown away. So one of the things they want to make sure is like a T-Rex needs to be like probably something you see in a raid or something. It has to be this big moment, right? Kind of like the first time you see a dragon.
Yeah, that's what I was just about to say. It's kind of like
Vela.
Yeah, it's kind of like seeing a dragon for the first time. It's got to be epic.
Mm-hmm.
Epic.
Which has been watered down. I mean, dragons have been watered down a little bit because they're fairly ubiquitous in the game these days. But like the first dragon in the game was Vela, and that's a big moment in the game. And they still do big moments like that. So.
Well, and I guess it depends what you mean by first one in the game, because the first one most people run into
the first one released in the game.
The first one ever released in the game. Okay, that would have been pre-Korthos being released then.
Yes.
All right. And anything else in the various chats that we had?
Let me look through.
You went through all four of them.
I mean, Seb.
Yeah, I did.
In Seb's interview, he was very chatty. I will give him that. He was dropping a lot of little, it was just small things like, oh yeah, we want to do Keep On in Borderlands. We have an idea how we're going to do that. Oh yeah, we're going to do Isle of Dread. And I'm just like, whoa, he's just like talking about all this stuff. So hopefully in our interview, he'll be as chatty. We'll see.
He's pretty chatty.
Then let's head into our next area where Master Finds of Sharn's splash screen teaser and video has been posted. And that is the shortest teaser video I think I've ever seen.
6 seconds. It is 6 seconds long. You get just a little glimpse of Sharn, and that's really about it. But the biggest thing to come out of it is the actual name of the expansion is the Masterminds of Sharn. And pre-orders will be available in March. And as I look at the calendar, it is March.
Yep.
So any day now, we should get the pre-order. And once again, they're going to use kind of how they're doing with the 13th anniversary splash screen. They're going to have a page for this over on DDO, which is linked in the show notes. Any information about Sharn, the pre-orders and everything is going to be there first. So that is the best way to keep up on anything Sharn related and pre-order related. But soon-ish, TM, I guess, for the pre-orders.
March.
Yeah, March. So...
Which, hey, it's March.
Yeah, exactly. But see, they kind of cover themselves, though, because it's like we didn't say when in March. We just said March. So, but I would assume a couple weeks, maybe. I mean, again, I have no insider information on that. I'm just throwing a wild speculation out there. I'm guessing a couple weeks we'll probably see pre-orders.
Probably
March 19th would be my guess.
Yeah. You will see pre-orders after they are satisfied with the Lamania build in order to have the patch, because the patch is going to, because they say instant access to the Tiefling race, which means they first have to have the patch that includes the Tieflings. That means finishing the Lamania builds.
Right, and I want to ask Seb to clarify that, because as I read that, to me that means if as soon as pre-orders go up, I pre-order Sharn, I get the Tiefling now, which I don't think is the case, but that's how I read that.
That is what they did for Ravenloft for the Aasimar.
They've done that a couple of times.
You're right, because I made my Aasimar
I forgot. You're right. They did do that for Ravenloft. I forgot.
They did that with Bladeforge too. I think that was Menace of the Underdark, or was that Shadowfell Conspiracy that did Iconics?
I think it was
Shadowfell.
Yeah.
But when you pre-ordered Shadowfell, you got instant access to Bladeforged, which could be interesting because the only thing they told us about Tiefling Iconic in terms of where they start is where they're starting right now is not where they're going to start, which kind of leads me to think that they might actually start in Sharn.
That would make the most sense. I mean, really, that would make sense.
We'll see what happens.
But yeah,
it might, if you make one early, you may end up being in a different... Or maybe they'll just release Tiefling and you don't get the Iconic until Sharn comes out. I don't know. We'll see what happens.
We'll see, because they just say here that instant access to the new Tiefling race is... So they don't say anything about the Iconic coming out before then. And the expansion upgrades includes the Universal Enhancement Tree, the Inquisitive, which is very definitely sounds like a Sharn type of thing. New iconic hero, the Scoundrel, which you just talked about, whose bard instrument is the fiddle.
Do you want the description of the Inquisitive? I think I have it here.
I get the impression that they are the secret police of Sharn or something like that.
Well, this is what they wrote. Based on the Master Inquisitive Prestige class in the 3.5 Eberron campaign setting, Inquisitives are investigators who specialize in solving mysteries and shedding light in the darkest secrets.
They're very much tied in with Sharn. If you know anything about Sharn in the lore, the Inquisitive is like, so it makes perfect sense. That is what they did. The fiddle, I'm still like, okay.
They did all that work to get fiddles into Lotra. They decided, well, we got to find a way to bring it into DDO.
Well, I mean, you're making an iconic bard, and you're creating a new race anyways, right? So the Tiefling. So they had to create all of the animations anyways. So one of the things they were able to do is create this animation where a Tiefling uses a fiddle as a bard. It was a little unclear to me if that means like a normal Tiefling becoming a bard will also use a fiddle or not. But at least the iconic, you get a fiddle instead of a lute.
And of course, you kind of have the whole tongue-in-cheek thing too, because Tieflings are, like hellish creatures. So you kind of have the whole devil went down to Georgia, kind of like tongue-in-cheek. I got my fiddle, I sold my soul, I'm a Tiefling kind of thing going on too.
Yeah, there is that.
But yeah, I read that and I'm like, fiddle? Really? Okay, but sure, why not?
I just hope the bard song is kind of reminiscent of the Devil Goes Down to Georgia.
That would be amazing. that would be
there's
so
totally
amazing.
like copyright issues with that, but
right,
like at least something like with that same kind of vibe would be nice.
I'm sure they could get around it somehow.
Well, if you make it, if it sounds like a reel, it might come close enough to it without stepping on anything. If you use a traditional, Devil that came down to Georgia probably used probably has some echoes of some old reels in there anyway, right?
Oh, probably, I'm sure, yeah.
Yeah, so therefore you could use one of those.
But yeah, that would be amazing. Come on, Debs, do it. You know you want to.
Now, after all this talk about Lamania on it, I guess yes, there was a update 41.4 preview on Lamania, which included a little sneak into the Tiefling race.
Yeah, that basically is what this little preview on Lamania was. It was just the Tiefling. We did get our first look at the Tiefling Scoundrel, and the Inquisitive Tree. You got to see everything. Just a little brief bit about them. Tieflings are going to get a +2 to their charisma, so that makes sense. And then you're going to get...
It's worth noting that they don't appear to get a penalty, though.
I did notice that when I was doing my first look video. I was trying to find where they got a penalty, and I'm like, So, yeah, that's interesting. You're also getting a feat that is called your Infernal Ancestry. You gain fire resistance equal to your character level, and you'll gain +2 to the balance skill, as well as +2 to save versus spells, and also a +2 to hit and damage against lawful outsiders and good outsiders, and you're immune to fear. So that is interesting. And then we did kind of touch on a little bit, but the iconic Tiefling is the Scoundrel, and that is the Bard. Once again, you're +2 to Charisma. You get that same Ancestry. And then you also get an SLA that will enchant your fiddle to cast the spell. And it's going to deal 2d4 fire damage +1 fire damage per caster level. So the max is going to be 2d4 +10 to a target. You are going to do a lot of fire damage as this iconic. I'm not that big into the iconic characters, but this actually has me intrigued.
I like how they pick, like, they do the iconic characters and they pick something that makes a lot of sense, but it's almost not really iconic. Like Tiefling, if you were to go, like, what's an iconic Tiefling? A warlock or a sorcerer, right?
That's
not a bard.
Exactly, and I think in my preview video, which we'll talk about here in a second, I kind of did say that. I'm like, normally when I think Tiefling, I think Warlock. Because usually I play Tiefling Warlocks is what I play. And it's
but they do a really good job of kind of subverting that expectation, but still making it make a heck of a lot of sense.
Yeah,
like,
because
Warforged Paladin makes sense.
You know, when you think about, for example, what you think about when you talk about more of the thinking about the devil and stuff like that, in how the devil has this thing about being very persuasive and the like, which is to make up a good bard.
Ooh, I didn't think about that, but yeah.
There's your Pine Leaf logic for the...
That's right, there you go, exactly. Congratulations, you snuck one in, Pine Leaf. And then also we got our first look at the Inquisitive Universal Enhancement Tree. This one is going to be exciting to people if you like crossbows. Light or heavy non-repeating crossbows. If you have those equipped and you take enough into the tree, you are going to be able to fight with those in each hand. So you're going to be dueling crossbow.
It's still hand crossbows.
Yeah.
Like they're smaller, kind of a thing.
Oh, I hope that they're smaller, because I could just imagine how difficult it'd be to wield 2 regular-sized crossbows.
Exactly. So yeah, this is, and then of course, you can. I'm gonna link the Lamania notes so you can read all about this tree. But there's some good stuff in this tree too. So I think they're onto something good with these. I don't.
One thing that's kind of fun to mention about the way that tree works too is there's actually options in there to do things like swashbuckle with light crossbows. Like one of the options in the tree allows you to swashbuckle while dual wielding 2 hand crossbows, apparently.
Which is blowing my mind how that is even going to work. But yeah, so like I said, I'm not a crossbow user, but I might actually play with this.
It could be interesting. Be an interesting twist to what I normally do with crossbows, seeing how now, of course, my artificer is used to repeater, so I might try a different character to test out some regular crossbows then, since of course usually when I see a regular like crossbow I say, okay, nothing.
Exactly. And I guess we should have said this before we started talking about this, but of course, keep in mind, this was all the first pass on Lamania. Probably will change. Maybe not. It could. So just have to stay tuned. I'm guessing we're going to get, I'm going to say probably 2 more builds on Lamania, maybe 3. I'm trying to think how many Ravenloft builds we had before it came out.
Well, yes, but this isn't the, yes, but this is not the build for the, for the expansion itself. This is a build for the mainly for the Tiefling.
Yeah, this was
so
like
that they will have it available for pre-orders.
Yeah, this was like a mechanics Tiefling tree, so you could see that stuff. So that's very true. But,
because they had to have the Tiefling ready before they have the expansion ready, so be ready for pre-orders.
But all of this might change. Just keep that in mind.
Yes. So at the very least, the Tiefling, and we don't know how much of this is actually going to be in 41.4. We know the Tiefling has to be, because it is definitely going to be part of the pre-order package, because they've already committed to that. We're not too sure what the other 2 are, at least in their level of commitment for that being as part of the pre-order immediately. Instant access. TM.
Yeah, nice.
Now, let's go into the Chronicle 323,
where we have the anniversary on the cover, and I think I called that last week. I said it was going to be an anniversary shot, and look, there it is.
Oh, what a shot.
Exactly. We do have, as we talked about, the anniversary event, so yay, go do that. Enjoy that while it lasts. In the community spotlights, the High Lords did host a Hound of Zoriat teaching raid. That was last night over on Sarlona. You can click over. They always put those up on their YouTube page as well, so you can go check that out. Once again, I think I've said this before, but if you want to learn a raid, High Lords will teach you raids. They know how to raid, and they know how to teach them. Also, Titus has posted a raid schedule for Orion, so if you play on Orion, you want to raid, check out the raiding schedule over there. And the Summer Munchkin games are coming back. The schedule has been posted, so if you want to partake in the Kyber Summer Munchkin games, you can find out when you're going to have to clear your schedule and Munchkin away.
Now,
yeah.
What races are eligible for the Munchkin raids?
Halflings and gnomes.
Halflings and gnomes? Okay.
The short ones.
I was going to make a little people joke, but I decided not to.
The halflings and the halflings and gnomes. They started though before the gnomes existed in the game, or
yes, it used to be the halfling summer games.
So they changed it when they.
Now it's the Munchkins. Yes.
Now it's the Munchkins.
We'll go into our fan site news section of our Chronicle. We got a shout out for our episode last week. Axel was discussing Sharn in his latest video, Fridays on Ice with Baklagor. House of Grouse had another blog post up. Doug Glendower is doing his Bard Life. Sip had a blog post up. Streaming with Even had her episode number 90. And Mickey is rating in week 111. Oh my gosh. And the latest D&D night on DDO stream game kicked off. That is the Wizard's Book. And that is with Cordovan DMing. So click to watch that. That is yet another group that is playing on D&D Night and DDO stream. And if I think I remember right, that's only going to be like 3 episodes. That was just like a little one-shot. Ish. Okay, yeah.
The conceit is that everyone's playing a level 1, starts as a level 1 wizard, and you can like stack your spells to cast bigger spells.
Yeah, I watched the first episode, and I really enjoyed it. It's an interesting concept Cordovan dreamed up in his head. And then, of course, we have our Chronicle comment of the week. Thank you for helping celebrate our 13th anniversary. To commemorate this occasion, tell us your most favorite adventure.
I'm trying to think how this is different from their question about your most favorite dungeon.
Well, adventure could be multiple dungeons.
Well, there is that.
Mine's an easy one.
Well, yes, we know what yours is.
Do I even have to say what mine is?
wait, I know what it is. Korthos.
Oh. No, I was thinking the first time I did the Crucible, but yeah.
You don't want to say that near certain people.
Exactly. No, of course it's Ravenloft.
I will take you through the Crucible anytime you want.
I'm sure you will. I will tell you what I tell Lessa. No, never again.
I'll even give you my flippers. You can borrow the flippers.
Well, now that you're going to give me flippers, we'll talk. But yeah, I think mine definitely would have to be the first time I went into Ravenloft. Specifically, the first time I ran Death House. It's just amazing. It's
it's
amazing what they did with Death House in the game, coming from the book, and it was Ravenloft. It just that's mine.
Yeah. Oh yeah, there are so many great things that happen in Ravenloft. Though there are when you have 12 different instances inside of a place, there are always one or two that you say, like, yeah, I'm even blocking out the name of that. The one after Death House, the one at the mill where you
Bone Grinder.
Dreams, at an old Bone Grinder with the fresh baked dreams.
Baked dreams. Yeah.
Yes, that one, and the other one was let's see. Yeah, I think that's sort of the low point of Ravenloft. But trying to get through that castle sometimes, if you're in a hurry,
but it's awesome. It's awesome though. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. Whenever you want to go into Castle Ravenloft, make sure you book a lot of time.
Or learn the castle.
Or learn the castle. Well, there's also learn the castle, but...
So I'm interested to hear what Patrick's answer to this is, because he's been playing longer than we have.
I mean, one of the best experiences I had in the game was when I ran the pit the first time.
Oh, Drac, what happened to Drac? No.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, my computer crashed again. Oh, sorry.
Well, I mean, it's just one of those quests that everyone was like, this quest is horrible, I hate this quest, and then I wanted to know why, so I went in, did it solo. First time I was in there. I mean, it took me about 2 hours. And
oh, yeah, it did, for me, too.
I mean, this was back when level cap was like 12, too, so there was a lot less power involved. And I was playing a Barbarian, which had nothing for self-healing other than potions at the time. But I loved it. It was a lot of fun.
It was certainly an experience, that is for sure.
It was, yeah. I can remember. I can remember the first time I went in there, too, and I was like, oh, my God, what did I get myself into?
Yeah, especially anything that has a lot of puzzles in it is definitely not going to be Drac's favorite, which is why I think that for Drac, the low point would be the one where you went to the Tomb of the Silver Dragon.
Oh, yeah, in Ravenloft,
for Ravenloft, because that's where I had the puzzle.
That's a halfway easy puzzle, though. I mean, that was
certainly not as
true.
Yeah.
Tomb of the Tormented.
Oh God, I forgot about Tomb of the Tormented. I try to block that out of my mind because that is just like, oh my God.
It's fun.
Cold Chamber's another one. I'm like, nope, never again. Done. No.
Tomb of the Tormented is better when they didn't break it.
So about you, Pine Life, you never did come up with an answer. So what's your definitive answer?
Well, my definitive answer will have to be Mists of Ravenloft. I can't think of, especially the first time when you're running it. And
yeah, it's just
seeing each of those places and for the
awesome.
First time.
Yeah, it is.
And I knew less about Ravenloft than you did, obviously, the first time I went, because you actually had run Death House by that time.
Yes, I did. Yeah, I had.
So this was my first seeing of Death House, so I was able to see the entirety of Ravenloft from a fresh perspective, which really helped a great deal in doing it. And you'll notice that when my Dragonborn reached level 10, even though I'm not doing a full playthrough of my Dragonborn through everything the Dragonborn does, but I decided that I think that there was something released just before that was level 9, and now I'm reached level 10, and yes, I decided I was going to run Ravenloft on this again, even though I had already done a Ravenloft series.
But a close second, I think, for me would be what they did with White Plume Mountain, too.
Oh!
They did really good.
Yeah.
They do so good with, like, the classic modules that I really enjoy running through the classic modules and see what they do to them, because some of them they kind of have to DDO-ify a little bit, and the way that they do that to make it make sense in the game is amazing. White Plume is a good example of that.
Yeah. Now, if it weren't for Zuggtmoy, I probably would have included the temple in that list. But Zuggtmoy, I'm sorry, the only reason why I've ever beat Zuggtmoy was because we were once brought in
Bonnie View,
yeah, because Bonnie View brought us into the place and says, "All right, we are going to come and get rid of Zuggtmoy,"
and we did. So there. So
yes, but it took a lot of cakes, I think.
But you can check that off your bucket list, though. And that's a look at our Chronicle this week.
That was... Oh, what about the screenshot of the week?
Oh, I completely forgot about that. Speaking of White Plume Mountain,
yeah,
that comes from White Plume Mountain. Looks like they're in the crazy little spinny tunnel. I don't know. Trying to think of what you call that little pinwheel tunnel.
Yeah, that pinwheel tunnel.
It was weird in the module, and it's weird in the game, but that is a pretty sweet screenshot there, and that is the 404th DDO screenshot of the week.
Whee! Now, when we were talking about the Munchkin games,
Mhm.
I was thinking maybe someday they should have the Outsider games to have the Asimars and the Tieflings, and anyone else who'd be called an outsider, or are those the only two?
Depends on what version you're in, I think. I don't think they're always considered outsiders.
Oh, they're not always considered outsiders?
I don't think so.
No, it changed from
They changed at some point.
edition to edition, yeah.
Okay, that's the thing about.
But I
having
see
so many
I see where you were going there, though.
Yes. Then let's head on and see what's on sale in the store this week. And nope, we do not yet have on sale the pre-orders.
Exactly. That is not included. Sorry. We do have a pretty decent sale, though. 25% off Sovereign XP Elixirs, Treasure Hunter Elixirs, Greater Slayer Boost, Long-Lasting Supreme Ability Potions. Those are all through March the 7th. The weekly coupon code is going to get you a Medium Guild Renowned Elixir. Mid Guild Renown is that code, also through March the 7th. And through today, as we record this live, you are going to get a plus 20 Reaper XP boost. So if you're listening to the podcast version, sorry, it's over. But if you're listening live, you still have time. Go get some Reaper XP.
There's also double bonus points through today.
I forgot to include that. I was just about to mention that, so thank you for mentioning that. Yeah, so if you're going to buy some points, go now. Double points. Not as good as when they did the triple, but it's been a long time since they did
only ever did that once.
Yeah, triple. That was awesome. But double's not bad, still.
If you want to get a really good bang for your buck on points, usually in the either around Black Friday, Cyber Monday, or the end of the year, they put Shadowfell or Menace of the Underdark on sale, and you can usually buy the low pack for $5, so the basic version of it. But when you buy those expansions, you have the option of buying a point bundle that you can only get when you're buying it with those, and it's actually more points per dollar than double bonus points.
Really?
It's fewer points.
I did not realize that.
Yeah, it's what is it, 11,000 points or something for $50 or $60, something like that.
Oh, wow.
I don't remember the numbers exactly, but it's a better bang for it's better dollar per point than double bonus points.
But if you already have that expansion, it's sort of
well, I mean, you guys run a podcast, so you could always buy one of those for $5.
Buy it, give it away, keep the points for ourselves. Yeah, exactly. See. I like the way you think, Patrick. I like it.
Let's head into our site news. And today we have a look from Dracula. It looks like, look at this. They bring Tieflings into Lamania. And what does Dracula do but play the Tiefling on Lamania?
Everybody's shocked, right? Nobody knew this was coming, right? Yeah. I did take a look. I went through character creation. I showed off the looks, and then I showed off the tree. I unfortunately did not have time to take a look at the iconic or the universal enhancement tree. Next Lamania, I will do that. I just ran out of time. Just the way scheduling-wise when Lamania was up, but I did want to get a look at the Tiefling.
Axel's video has the iconic as well. If you want to look at it, I think it's basically the same though. I don't think there were any differences. Yeah, I don't think he saw or I didn't see any differences in what was going on there.
Overall, I like the looks of them. I have some issues with the horns a little bit.
They look a little cheesy.
They do, exactly. Not impressed with a lot of the horns. But the tail, I like the tails. I like the way the tails animate. I liked that. I like the looks. But yeah, especially the bigger horns, looked really, really super cheesy to me.
A little bit, yeah. It makes the game, I mean, it really kind of pops out the dated graphics in the game.
Yeah, it does. It does. Personally, my opinion, the best set of horns to get are what most people call the little devil horns. Those are the best looking horns on the Tiefling, I think. Just
on this build.
Yes, on this build at least. So hopefully they'll. And I noticed on the forums there was some other opinions of the same ilk, and you can imagine how some of those threads went, but you can look if you want to read them. So hopefully they'll take some of that constructive criticism. There was some constructive in there, and
a lot of unconstructive too.
Yeah, well, well, forums. What are you gonna do? So you can look at those videos, and like I said, once Lamania comes back up, I will take a look at the iconic and the other just to see. But I actually haven't watched all of Axel's video yet, so I'm gonna have to watch that and because I know he did say he was going to show off the looks too. I just watched the beginning part of it.
If you've already seen them, I mean, there's not really. It's really just kind of about what they look like. It's not. He kind of goes through a bunch of the different looks. So what does look good is the lipstick on the women, the female tieflings.
Yeah. Yes. They, like I said, overall, other than my little slight issue I have with the horns, I'm pretty happy with the way they look. And I like how they animated the tails. That's what I was really worried about, is if they were going to get the tail animation right. And it looks like, at least in this beginning build, they did get tail animations good. And they actually... I tried a couple different cloaks, and I did not find any cloak that clipped with the tail. I did see a forum post where somebody was pointing out, I have a cloak that clips.
Was it a forum post that was like, hey, look, this one clips, or, ha, gotcha, this one clips, you lied to me?
Pretty much, that's about how it was, yes.
Yeah.
But I mean, give the poor animator dude a break. That dude is like working nonstop doing all this animation. I mean, come on.
Well, he's done, in the last year, he's done cloaks, which means he had to touch every single animation in the game to add cloaks to them. And then he did, Vishtani, the knife fighting, although I think that those two, I think, are kind of longer term. But now we've also got dual crossbow wielding animations, and you've got an entire new race with an iconic that has a completely different instrument animation.
Exactly. I mean, the dude must not ever sleep at all. I mean, he's just animating 24 hours a day, apparently. So good on him.
Also, he likes animating things.
Well, that's true.
Actually, I met the guy when I was there.
Oh, did you? Oh, nice.
Yeah. One of the guys I met, and cloaks was like the one thing that they showed me, was like, you can't talk about that. And in like 2 days, like, I didn't even make it home yet, and they're already like, hey, cloaks are coming.
You're like, can I talk about it now? Am I cool to talk about this?
It was a laughably short amount of time that I could talk about cloaks.
Oh boy.
Oh, that's funny.
No, he was a nice guy, and he it was kind of funny to me that he was very nonchalant about, oh, well, it's not that big a deal. It's just like 6,000 animations or something like that. Okay,
only 6,000. Come on now.
I don't think that was the number, but it was.
So yeah, so check out those videos if you couldn't hop on Lemania and you want to take a peek at what the Tieflings look like.
Though you can't hop on the Lemania right now because it is down.
They did say probably 2 to 3 weeks. They're hoping to get it back up.
In terms of timeline, because we didn't really talk about it, like they're saying that they want to do another money build in 2 to 3 weeks. And pre-orders are probably going to be, like I said, I'm kind of guessing March 19th, which is about 2 weeks away. And that's on a Tuesday, which is kind of when they normally do stuff like that. So if you kind of extrapolate past that, usually the expansions go on sale for about a month and a half before they come out. So we're probably looking at, end of April or early to mid-May is when the expansion will probably land.
I was guessing about May is what my bet was going to be down on it. So yeah, we'll see. And
that's kind of the extrapolation.
Yeah, and I kind of did the math the way you did, because I looked back previous and I'm like, okay, so we had this for this long. Okay, so probably about May we'll have it. So
now, when you say 2 to 3 weeks, remember it would be 2 to 3 weeks from when, if it was 2 to 3 weeks from when they posted, because remember the Lemania build came out on February 26th, right? So therefore 2 weeks would be March 12th. 3 weeks, of course, would be 19th. Yeah, so.
Does your week start on Monday or Sunday?
Well, for me, I'm basing this on Tuesdays. I'm basing that their weeks are from the previous Lemania build.
Sure.
Oh, I see. Okay, you had me really confused for a second, but now
yes.
I thought
so you could see another Lemania build as early as the 12th.
I always think of the first day of the week as Monday, just because of how my work schedules
line
up and how my work rhythm works. So,
but in Pine Leaf World, things work differently.
Well, I'm just thinking.
Apparently, Pine Leaf is starting on Thursday or something.
No. When they say 2 to 3 weeks, I was thinking 2 to 3 weeks from when they put out the previous build. So therefore, I was basing it on Tuesday, since that's when the first build came out.
Okay, I see.
Yeah. Pine Leaf logic, I know.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was about to say. That is Pine Leaf logic 101 there, folks.
Is that Pine Leaf logic or Pine Leaf illogic?
Let's head into the next segment. Patrick, what have you got to plug? I've heard you have a podcast and things like that going on.
Yeah, so we've got DDO Cast. I actually just during the show published the last one, which is all about the 13th anniversary and the Mastermind of Sharn preview and stuff. So if you want to have a lot more in-depth information about than what we covered here, you can go listen to that. I think community, like I got to the community news portion like an hour and 30 minutes into the show. So
Wow, really?
yeah.
Jeez.
And Jerry and I can both talk ad nauseum and length and vamp pretty easily. Anyways, so that's weekly podcast show. DDO Cast is a static group I have on Kyber where we play on Tuesdays at 5:30 p.m. Pacific time on twitch.tv/DDO Cast. We can also catch the cast shows live as well. But we just kind of play DDO with a couple people doing that. And then D&D Cast is my D&D night on DDO stream group, which of course Drac is in. Playing a rogue with questionable morality now.
That group is so fun.
Doesn't that describe all rogues?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, some behind the scenes look. If you didn't see the last episode, they've been escorting this merchant, and some things came to light about the merchant. And Drac asked me if Drac tried to make a hide check to ostensibly go over and just like totally backstab this guy, not kind of realizing that he was in an open field next to a campfire in broad daylight. The guy, we had to take care of the guy, and I'm like, well, and then Patrick told me that. I'm like, oh, yeah. So, like most rogues, he's got questionable morality and thinks very highly of his skills.
Apparently so.
Oh, I could have got lucky with a roll, but no, that I am. I am having so much fun in that group, though. That is just, it's got Rent,
Damsels, and Rent, and Tay, and Nobob. From SSG
it's
as well.
So much fun. It is so weird. I think we all click very well together, and we all have.
And your personalities are just different enough that like. I don't want to give away like the total spoiler because you should totally go watch it.
What exactly?
The last one, like they figured out who this merchant was, and there was definitely like some of the group was like, "Oh, okay, so you're gonna pay us," and then someone else was like, "Wait, we're not okay with this, are we?"
Yeah, and then each one of us in the group have their own little quirks, and it's kind of interesting to see how we all kind of blend together with our little weird quirks that we have, and and there's a sock puppet involved. That's all I'm gonna say. The sock puppet makes the episode, so just go watch. It's fun, and we've done what?
Five.
Yeah, I was gonna say we're gonna do our 6th episode coming up next week. Yeah. Next weekend, I had to look at the calendar.
That one's second weekend of the month on D&D Night on DDO Stream, which is sponsored by Fantasy Grounds, which is an awesome virtual tabletop platform that we've used to great effect. And they were kind enough to sponsor the show, and it's a lot of fun to use that program. And then there's different group. We talked about the Wizard group earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Bonnie's group, Hugs Unlimited, is playing tonight. And then we also have... I think Even Note is still going with Sunless Citadel. There's kind of a mixture of like longer term, like my group is like super long term, and then other groups are kind of short and kind of phasing in and out. Some of them are longer, some are others. It gives a nice variety of kind of programming and stuff. But you can catch that 7 p.m. Eastern every Sunday night on twitch.tv/DDO stream.
Yeah,
we are also kind of putting the finishing touches on kind of reorganizing. Let me phrase that. We are organizing the past videos from the previous stuff that have been done. So we're kind of working through that. We're almost done kind of doing that so that all of those adventures will be available on the YouTube page. On DDO Limited's YouTube channel has a playlist and stuff like that. So you can watch all of the episodes if you want.
Thank you. Then let's head out and see what's coming in from the dungeon. And I see something coming from the seas.
That's right. The new 5e book was announced, and it is entitled The Ghosts of Saltmarsh. This will be coming very soon, May 21st. And can I just move here a second to reach my arm around to pat myself in the back? Yes, I was right. Let me repeat that. I was right. Thank
For
you.
once.
For once. For once. My wild speculation paid off. I was right. If you remember a couple episodes ago, we were talking about how WotC did a little preview on one of their streams about their upcoming book. They didn't have announced it yet, and I was like, hey, that is word for word out of one of the Saltmarsh adventures. And lo and behold, this is Saltmarsh. This is redos to 5e of the classic U series, and they're also going to include a couple of the Saltmarsh adventures that was in the Dungeon magazine. So you're going to get Sinister Secret of Saltmarsh, Danger at Dunwater, The Final Enemy, Salvage Operation, Isles of the Abbey, Tamarat's Fate, and The Styes. All those are going to be included in the book. And just, go ahead.
I just saying is, I get the impression, though, you thought it was just going to be a republishing of The Final Enemy and not the entirety of Saltmarsh.
Right. So I was, okay, fine. I was halfway right. Way to steal my thunder from me, Pineley. Jeez. Okay, I was half right. I got the Final Enemy part right. That counts for something, right? And I did say this book's going to be out May 21st. And like all the other books, there's going to be the standard edition, and then there's going to be a friendly local game store only edition. And normally I do not like when they do the alternate covers because I think it's just a basic cash grab. But this alternate cover of the Swahajin looks amazing. I love the way this cover looks.
Creepy.
Yeah, it does. It looks creepy as hell, and it is so amazing. And they're also saying it's going to be a soft touch cover book, which I'm not exactly sure what that means.
Touch cover.
The way I read that was it's going to be a hardcover book, but it's going to feel like what the old soft modules felt like, is how I read that. I don't know if I'm reading too much into that or not, but anyway, so that's the cover that you can only get at your friendly local game store. Everywhere else you're going to get the standard cover, which looks pretty cool too, though. But that alternate cover looks pretty creepy and amazing. So the Ghost of Saltmarsh coming from WotC, May 21st.
Let's head out and see what our weekend gaming was like. And Drac, what were you up to?
Well, over on Wayfinder, I did the anniversary event. That was with Tay and Rent. We ran that 3 or 4 times. And then we jumped into Meridia. We made the Meridia run, and then we did To Curse the Sky. So we're going to start doing all the Meridia quests out there as we are level 15. So we figured, let's go there because you can get a lot of experience doing those quests and doing those slayers out there. So that's where we will be for a little while. And then I played some DDO with you. I'll let you talk about that. And then in 5E, we had our 7th episode of the bonus D&D night. So that is Evil Beaker is running a bunch of us through Waterdeep Dragon Heist. As I said, we recorded our 7th episode for that. That is a fun group as well. We are discovering a lot of things, and something happened this episode. I'm going to tease it because you need to go watch the episode. It was really fun. Really, really fun what happened in this episode. And then played some tabletop. Played Dragonfire. That game is so freaking hard. And played one of the newest game. Well, it's not really new anymore, but it's newer from Yellow. It's called Bunny Kingdom. This is a area control and card drafting game combined. You're bunnies and you're trying to control areas of the board, and you get bonuses for doing that and other stuff. And there's card drafting because you draw 2 cards and then you pass the cards. The one round you pass your cards to the left, and then the other rounds you patch them to the right, so everybody is like drafting cards out of the cards that you didn't take. So there's strategy there. There's strategy in which cards that you play, what areas of the board you want to get, if you want to build cities there to get other bonuses. So a lot of strategy involved in it. Look for a review of that coming hopefully this week. I can get the review done. If not, next week, that review of that Bunny Kingdom from Yellow. So what about you, Pineleaf? What were you up to?
We will look into, first of all, what I did with you. With my Wood Elf Druid, we went into part 1 of the Temple of Elemental Evil, where things were usually fine, except the Medusa was nastier than normal. The Medusa, boy, she was in a bad mood that day.
Yeah, it was insane.
Yeah. And in fact, all the time I've been in DDO, I think that's the first time I was actually turned into stone.
Me too. And I usually with Medusas, I don't have a problems. But yeah, she was really tough for some reason.
Yeah. And then we got to the gelatinous cube. And the gelatinous cube was let's wipe the party mood.
Yeah, we had, I don't know what went on with this run of the temple, but we had a hard time for some reason.
Yeah. And then the creme de resistance was when we got to the fire temple and we had 6 salamanders spawn. 6?
Yeah, I have never seen that many. It was just weird. That whole spawn of that dungeon we got was like, I don't know what was going on, but it was just weird and hard. And it was really fun though, but lots of deaths.
Yeah, lots of Patrick, did you ever have that much trouble with with like 6 salamanders at once in the fire temple?
Maybe. I don't remember.
You don't remember? Okay. Yes.
Did I have trouble with them? Probably not. I might have had more than that. I don't know.
But normally I don't ever have a problem.
Normally I see 2 salamanders.
Yeah, I'm gonna say, sometimes like if I'm.
Doesn't it have something to do with how you interact with the altar?
I interacted the same way as I always do. I say this is
obviously what if it's a skill check?
There isn't a skill check with it.
I don't know. Oh, I haven't paid any close attention to it, to be honest.
I can't remember. All I know is for some reason it was like way harder than it ever has been, and I don't understand why we had so much problems. But we did actually complete. The end fight was like nothing. I mean, that was like the simplest part of the whole thing.
Yes. Yeah.
Because I thought, oh my God, if we had so much problem in this other for some reason, which we've never had before because we ran that several times, I'm like, we're never going to be able to get through this end fight. And that was like a cakewalk.
Yeah, that's probably because we did have the club.
Well, that's true.
That did help in that matter. But yeah, it was easy.
And the world did stop turning. I pulled the bow.
Ooh.
Of course, it wasn't on my ranger, but I pulled the bow. I got a piece of named loot. The world is ending, I think, or something. That might be why it was so hard, because they're like, this is going to be the last time ever, so we'll give it to him this one time.
Right. Well, if it really wanted to be nice to you, it would have given it to you on your ranger, but...
Yeah, true. I was on my rogue, but still, I pulled the bow.
Then on my Dragonborn Artificer, I was in Ravenloft at level 12. I ran Sealed in Amber. And in Sealed in Amber, I actually went and did that optional where you help the elf and got the thing, found it, did the port to Ravenloft, and okay, it says, all right, I got there, I done this, so I just hit finish and I'm done. Not really like, no, you got to return to the Amber Temple and talk to the elf to really get credit for the optional.
Oh, no.
So I get back, I finished him, I talked to the elf at the end, he says, yeah, sorry you weren't able to save my sister. What?
Oh, no. No.
After all that I went through. Oh, well. And that was, yeah, when I realized that, especially considering that I was recording that one, so that one's on YouTube, when I realized, no!
Oh, I can't wait to watch that one then.
Then next after that is I then ran the Final Vintage, which is interesting, where the Final Vintage was marked as short, and that took me half an hour to do. Then Wrath of the Earth was marked as medium, and all right, the only reason why it took me 20 minutes is because the first time I went in there, I got punched in the face by the druids. But when I went in there and actually prepared for the battle and ripped them apart, the total time of questing in there was maybe 15 minutes. They're short versus long definitions, or sometimes.
I can say I usually run Wrath of the Earth pretty quick. Usually, that's usually.
Yeah, but Final Vintage, which is rated as short, I don't think I could do that in 15 minutes.
Can't remember how long it takes me to do that one.
Yeah.
I'll have to pay attention next time I run it and see how long it takes me.
All right. Then I did Raven's Bane, which has you. Yes. Maybe if you know where everything is, you could do it reasonably quickly, but it's one place where you could easily get lost saying, okay, now where's this next Raven? Where's this next Raven? Trying to find all those Ravens, and then going inside of Baba Lasaga's hut, which is, for Baba Lasaga's hut, is rather quiet, shall we say. So that's Raven's Bane. So that's what I did with Ravenloft. Now in Minecraft, I ran the March Minecraft Parkour Challenge, where I was to find as much gold as I can. So that was a typical find a mine shaft, find gold, and avoid the spiders. It's pretty much what that particular MHC is, and I am posting 9 episodes of that over the course of March. First episode went up last Friday, and every Monday and Friday we get episodes of that. I ran Mage Rage 4, which was a bit of a scavenger hunt. I went all over the place trying to find those items, and there's always one item that's a real pain to find. And I'm trying to remember what I was. Oh, that's right. I was trying to find a piece of some vines, is what I spent the end of that particular one trying to finding some vines in order to finish something up. But outside of that, I got through it reasonably quickly. Outside of that, I one time ran to a skeleton farm and used that in order to get my bow. And then in my railroad challenge, I finished my second hub in that location. But it so happened that when I was testing, see that my rail line was all nice and working, it turned out I ran into a bug that they had in the latest build of Minecraft, where whenever you try to hit a turn on a rail cart, instead bounces you back. So they got a little fixing to do. So Patrick, what were you up to?
Mostly I've been working on a TR project. So I've been running my monk to 16 now, and 16, 17, and just running stuff up that way. I haven't really done a lot of gaming other than DDO, just kind of running up that character. Did DDO Cast. We're running through Ravenloft. Did that on Tuesday. We'll probably finish flagging next week, and then maybe do one of the raids after that. We'll see. I haven't really done a ton of gaming outside of that in the last week or so. But do play 7 Days to Die with Drac and the Damsels and everyone, which we'll probably be doing tonight.
We currently have 21 supporters on Patreon. If you'd like to help support DDO players, simply go to the donations page where you can support the Players Alliance on Patreon. There you'll find rewards, including a mention on the podcast your choice, or even be guest with us for an episode of DDO Players News. We did not receive any emails this week, but if you'd like to send us one, you can send it to podcast@ddoplayers.com. And you can also follow us on Twitter, the Players Alliance @PlayersAlliance, DDO Players @DDO Players, Dracula @Dracula_72, and Pineleaf @PineleafNews. And you can follow Patrick at DDO Cast or on Twitch at
Twitch.tv/DDOcast.
That sounds like a rather weird spelling of Twitch. That's the reason that they caught me on there.
Oh, well.
Yes. Yeah, DDO, yes. The DDO Cast channel on Twitch. And, of course, on www.ddocast.com. And you can follow Drac on Twitch at Dracula_72. And we have 2 live shows on Thursdays at 7 p.m. U.S. Eastern Time. We have DDO Players News. And on Saturdays at 8:30 p.m. U.S. Eastern Time, we have Loto Players News. And you can join us for our live shows at ddoplayers.com/live. And that is all for tonight. And this is PineleafNews reminding you to quest responsibly.